Hi there, fans. This is Crazy Lady, Dr. Sue, and I want to do something that I really hate when other people do, and that is talk to you about my illnesses, and how I came to get them disappeared for the most part, or better, or improved, if not disappeared. First of all, you know I'm old. You already know that. And you may or may not know that I retired early from the practice of medicine because I had severe fibromyalgia and severe osteoarthritis. And between the two of them, I just couldn't walk, carry charts, or do the things I was supposed to do, including concentrate. So at any rate, I retired early. I rested for about 11 months or so. And during that time, parenthetically, I woke up one afternoon with no vision in my left eye. It was totally clouded over. So I went to the ophthalmologist, and it turns out that I had what they call a vitreous detachment, which just happened while I was taking a nap. No trauma, no nothing. And an associated minor retinal tear or two. So they lasered the tears and told me I was just going to have to get used to not seeing out of that eye and wait for a while, and maybe it would get smaller. So it did. I waited quite a long time for it to get smaller, and since I dabble in other healing methods and tools, I decided to try some radionics or Rife machine technology on my eyes. I already had been interested in using it for my fibromyalgia and other problems, and had found that it was very good for relaxing a muscle when I pulled my back, which used to be rather frequent. At any rate, long short, I used Rife therapy, R-I-F-E. This is developed by Royal Raymond Rife in the 1930s and suppressed by the government. I used Rife technology on my eye, and the vitreous, which is the jelly that occupies most of the inside globe of your eye, behind your iris and between your iris and your retina. So anyways, the vitreous shrunk down and then broke up into little gobs that were on grids, kind of like fancy tic-tac-toes, according to my ophthalmologist, my optometrist. So I discovered, just by so-called accident, that Rife therapy was very useful to treat what turned out to be a very large floater right in my vision line, and this was all due to a vitreous detachment. So I can testify that I've gotten almost most of my vision back. It's now 20/30. My other eye is 20/20. And it's mostly due to Rife and to quantum pulse therapy. Quantum pulse is sold as an energizer. Both of these techniques put electromagnetic waves into you, and they are different from ionizing radiation from nuclear weapons and microwaves and so on. I'm not an engineer, and I don't know all of the physics about this, but it is different. They're very healing, and with Rife machines, you can use different frequencies or hertz to treat different ailments. This has been it's suppressed knowledge that has been kept alive in Russia and China all these years during the Cold War and Korean War and so on, all these years, and now it's coming back around and is available online. I highly recommend it. You do not need to pay a lot for Rife machines, although some of them can get to be quite expensive. So back to my story. During that time when I was resting, I began to read. I'd always wanted to know how the world worked, as I said to you before one night. And in particular, I was interested in things that might be helpful to my diseases. So I tried all kinds of supplements. Many of them helped, especially for osteoarthritis. Many of them helped, including high-dose vitamin C. I, for a while, was taking about 17 or 18 grams, that is 17 or 18,000 units of vitamin C a day. And yes, it really, really does help your arthritis and some other things, but makes you fart like crazy. And so because I really became unable to take so many pills because of some GI dysmotility, I stopped with all the pills, and after I had a surgical procedure, I started back with many fewer pills. Well, I said long short, and here I am giving you the long version. Oh, you have no idea what the long version is, so that's really not so. It's the intermediate version. Well, the short version is that about 2 years ago, I asked my wife if she would call hospice for me because I was so sore and tired and I couldn't walk. I had terrible arthritic scoliosis. It was pressing on nerves that went to my leg, and I was having a lot of problems and could really hardly get around, and couldn't sleep all night, and was taking a lot of gabapentin and all that stuff, and a lot of narcotics too for the pain, but it just all wasn't enough. Fortunately for me, my wife said, "No, you're not ready, you're not done yet, and so we have to look at other options." So I kept looking for either an orthopedist or a neurosurgeon who would be able to help me with my back, and I found one, an absolute wizard at the large medical center down the road that I have said some not too kind things about from time to time, but he indeed fixed me up in very, very magical ways, all laparoscopic, and I am indebted to him. The second thing that I've done to help myself recently is I discovered they say coincidentally, but I don't believe in coincidences, so I bumped into some very dapper young professional chiropractors at of all places, a home show in Florida. And when they told me what they did, I was quite intrigued. They are orthogonal chiropractors. Now, I understand that this has hit late night television. I think that's great, but I wanted to also give them a big plug. Orthogonal chiropractic has to do with realigning your first cervical vertebra so that it completely sits back in its proper position, which is up against the foramen in the back of the skull, the hole in the back of our head where our spinal cord begins and the brain ends. It's a very tricky area because the part of the brain just above the foramen has to do with vital functions like respiration and cardiac and stuff like that. But everything below the foramen has to do with the rest of our bodies, below our chins. So it turns out that my atlas, my first cervical vertebra, was twisted and torted and tipped considerably. And these fellows put the information about the angles of misalignment into their computer, and with the sound wave, position me on the table, on my side, put the probe up right in back of my ear, said, hold your breath, and all I heard was the click. And with that one click, most of my fibromyalgia was gone. My vision returned to normal also, and I realize I've given you two different stories about the vision thing, but the Rife therapy really helped it a lot. Dissolve the floaters, and my actual vision was improved in addition to that with this particular maneuver. At any rate, I had something called the midline shift syndrome, which is a problem with posture and tipping when you walk, and lunging forward and things like that. And apparently that was also related to my first cervical vertebra, because for the first time I was able to stand up, walk straight, not lean to the right, not hunch over when I walk. First time in my life. So I think probably a lot of the misalignment in my case was due to a birth injury. So that, as far as I'm concerned, is the silver bullet that we have been, in medicine, have been waiting for so long. It is said to cure multiple sclerosis, fibromyalgia, brain conditions causing dementia, slip discs, and a host of other problems. I also have a hunch that it might, in fact, be contributing to the stabilization of my osteoarthritis. I have a double gene osteoarthritis, and it is clearly not getting worse for the first time in recent history. So I believe that it probably is a long-term effect of that maneuver, plus how I eat. Now that leads me to the next thing. I eat a celiac diet that is as organic as I can get it. It's not perfectly organic all the time, because I'm in situations, other people's for dinner, going out to dinner, etc., in which I can't have certified or Farmer's Pledge organic food. And some people who eat that way do not go out to eat, period. At any rate, I do take some of my food to friends to eat when I need to. I have, on this regimen, and let me add that I try to make a good portion of my diet raw. There are some data now that say if you can make at least 50%, if not 51% of your diet raw, that your body accepts it better, doesn't fight it off, it doesn't raise your white cell count, and you get all the benefit of all the enzymes and all of the food value if you can eat it as close to raw as you can get it. And of course, with no pesticide on it. Peel your apples, etc., etc. The last thing I want to say is that I take tons of vitamin D. I personally am taking 15,000 units a day with fish oil, and my level, my vitamin D3 level, is in the high normal range. So take it from me that you can feel much better if you take a lot more vitamin D than medical doctors are willing to prescribe or even admit knowing about. That's also true of other vitamins such as niacin, etc. There's a new film, by the way, that talks about this called Food Matters. Watch it. This is Crazy Lady. See you later.